world. John McCain and I share that, and you combine all that with being a team with the only track record of making a difference in where we've been and reforming, and that's a good team. It's a good ticket.
Senator.
You've been very kind, suggesting my only Achilles heel is my lack of discipline. Others talk about it, my excessive passion. I'm not going to change. I have 35 years in public office. People can judge who I am. I haven't changed in that time. And by the way, a record of change. I will place my record and Barack's record against John McCain's or anyone else in terms of fundamental accomplishments. Wrote the crime bill, put 100,000 cops in the street. Wrote the Violence Against Women Act, which John McCain voted against both of them. Was the catalyst to change the circumstance in Bosnia, led by President Clinton, obviously. Look, I understand what it's like to be a single parent. When my wife and daughter died and my two sons were gravely injured, I understand what it's like as a parent to wonder what it's like if your kid's going to make it. I understand what it's like to sit around the kitchen table with a father who says, I got to leave, champ, because there's no jobs here. I got to head down to Wilmington, and when we get enough money, honey, we'll bring you down. I understand what it's like. I'm much better off than almost all Americans now. I get a good salary as United States Senate. I live in a beautiful house. It's my total investment that I have. So I am much better off now. But the notion that somehow, because I'm a man, I don't know what it's like to raise two kids alone. I don't know what it's like to have a child you're not sure is going to make it. I understand, as well as, with all due respect, the governor or anybody else, what it's like for those people sitting around that kitchen table. And guess what? They're looking for help. They're looking for help. They're not looking for more of the same.
Governor.
People aren't looking for more of the same. They are looking for change, and John McCain has been the consummate maverick in the Senate over all these years. He's taken shots left and right from the other party and from within his own party because he's had to take on his own party when the time was right, when he recognized it was time to put partisanship aside and just do what was right for the American people. That's what I've done as governor also, take on my own party when I had to and work with both sides of the aisle in my cabinet, appointing those who would serve regardless of party, Democrats, independents, Republicans, whatever it took to get the job done. Also, John McCain's maverick position that he's in, that's really prompted up to and indicated by the supporters that he has. Look at Lieberman and Giuliani and Romney and Lingle and all of us who come from such a diverse background of policy and of partisanship, all coming together at this time, recognizing he is the man that we need to lead in these next 4 years, because these are tumultuous times. We have got to win the wars. We have got to get our economy back on track. We have got to not allow the greed and corruption on Wall Street anymore. And we have not got to allow the partisanship that has really been entrenched in Washington, D.C., no matter who's been in charge. When the Republicans were in charge, I didn't see a whole lot of progress there either. When the Democrats either, though, this last go-around for the last 2 years. Change is coming, and John McCain is the leader of that reform.
I'll be very brief. Can I respond to that? Look,
Please.
The maverick, let's talk about the maverick John McCain is. And again, I love him. He's been a maverick on some issues, but he has been no maverick on the things that matter to people's lives. He voted 4 out of 5 times for George Bush's budget, which put us $500 billion in debt this year and over $3 trillion in debt since he's got there. He has not been a maverick in providing health care for people. He voted against including another 3.6 million children in coverage of the existing health care plan when he voted in the United States Senate. He's not been a maverick when it comes to education. He has not supported tax cuts and significant changes for people being able to send their kids to college. He's not been a maverick on the war. He's not been a maverick on virtually anything that generally affects the things that people really talk about around their kitchen table. Can we get mom's MRI? Can we send Mary back to school next semester? We can't make it. How are we going to heat the house this winter? He voted against even providing for what they call LIHEAP, for assistance to people with oil prices going through the roof in the winter. So maverick he is not on the important critical issues that affect people at that kitchen table.
Final question tonight before your closing statement, starting with you, Senator Biden. Can you think of a single issue, and this is to cast light for people who are just trying to get to know you in your final debate, your only debate of this year. Can you think of a single issue, policy issue, in which you were forced to change a long-held view in order to accommodate changed circumstances?
Yeah, I can. When I got to the United States Senate and went on the Judiciary Committee as a young lawyer, I was of the view and have been trained to the view that the only thing that mattered was whether or not a nominee appointed, suggested by the president, had a judicial temperament, had not committed a crime of moral turpitude, and had been a good student. And it didn't take me long. It was hard to change, but it didn't take me long. But it took about 5 years for me to realize that the ideology of that judge makes a big difference. That's why I led the fight against Judge Bork. Had he been in the court, I suspect there'd be a lot of changes that I don't like and the American people wouldn't like, including everything from Roe v. Wade to issues relating to civil rights and civil liberties. And so that was one of the intellectual changes that took place in my career as I got a close look at it. And that's why I was the first chairman of the Judiciary Committee to forthrightly state that it matters what your judicial philosophy is. The American people have a right to understand it and to know it. But I did change on that, and I'm glad I did.
Governor.
There have been times where, as mayor and governor, we have passed budgets that I did not veto, and that I think could be considered as something that I quasi-caved in, if you will, but knowing that it was the right thing to do in order to progress the agenda for that year and to work with the legislative body, that body that actually holds the purse strings. So there were times when I wanted to zero-base budget and to cut taxes even more, and I didn't have enough support in order to accomplish that. But on the major principal things, no, there hasn't been something that I've had to compromise on, because we've always seemed to find a way to work together. Up there in Alaska, what we have done is, with bipartisan efforts, is work together, and again, not caring who gets the credit for what as we accomplish things up there. And that's been just a part of the operation that I've wanted to participate in, and that's what we're going to do in Washington, D.C. also. Bringing both sides together. John McCain is known for doing that also, in order to get the work done for the American people.
Let's come full circle. You both want to bring both sides together. You both talk about bipartisanship. Once again, we saw what happened this week in Washington. How do you change the tone as vice president, as number two?
Well, again, I believe John McCain were he here, and this is a dangerous thing to say in the middle of an election, but he would acknowledge what I'm about to say. I have been able to work across the aisle on some of those controversial issues and change my party's mind as well as Republicans, because I learned a lesson from Mike Mansfield. Mike Mansfield, the former leader of the Senate, said to me one day, I made a criticism of Jesse Helms. He said, what would you do if I told you Jesse Helms and Dot Helms had adopted a child who had braces and was in real need? I said, I'd feel like a jerk. He said, Joe, understand one thing. Everyone's sent here for a reason, because there's something in them their folks like. Don't question their motive. I have never, since that moment in my first year, questioned the motive of another member of the Congress or Senate with whom I've disagreed. I've questioned their judgment. I think that's why I have the respect I have and been able to work as well as I've been able to have work in the United States Senate. That's the fundamental change Barack Obama and I will bring to this party, not questioning other people's motives.
Governor.
You do what I did as governor, and you appoint people regardless of party affiliation. Democrats, independents, Republicans, you walk the walk. You don't just talk the talk. And even in my own family, it's a very diverse family, and we have folks of all political persuasion in there also. So I've grown up just knowing that, you know, at the end of the day, as long as we're all working together for the greater good, it's going to be okay. But the policies and the proposals have got to speak for themselves also. And again, voters on November 4th are going to have that choice to either support a ticket that supports policies that create jobs. You do that by lowering taxes on American workers and on our businesses, and you build up infrastructure, and you rein in government spending, and you make our nation energy independent. Or you support a ticket that supports policies that will kill jobs by increasing taxes, and that's what the track record shows, is a desire to increase taxes, increase spending, $1 trillion spending proposal that's on the table. That's going to hurt our country, and saying no to energy independence. Clear choices on November 4th.
Governor Palin, you get the chance to make the first closing statement.
Well, again, Gwen, I do want to